And so I arrived in Peru, in South America, left my Manhattan apartment behind, arrived in South America, lived in the back of a gym for a little while, and became an MMA fighter. It was, I don't think the word eye-opening was really strong enough to describe what I saw down there. I mean, I was living with a bunch of MMA fighters down in Peru, and the level of poverty down there, the level of education down there, everything, it was just so different from everything I'd grown up in. I'd grown up in, a middle-class town. I went to Blair, went to Penn, worked in New York City. I'd never seen this kind of stuff. The first day I was down there, I was on the back of my friend's motorcycle, and a cop pulled us over for no reason. And he starts arguing with my friend, and he had to pay him $40 to just go away. And I was like, what? Where am I right now? And so, but those are the kind of adventures that I wanted in my life. And I was down there for about 20 days, and my coach pulled me aside and he said, "You're gonna fight tonight in the MMA event." I said, "What?" So yeah, you're gonna fight tonight. I was like, no, I can't. No way. And he finally talked me into it, and I went to the event that night, my first amateur fight, 20 days after I'd been in Peru, and got punched in the face, and a little uglier than usual there. And so, but it was interesting. I won the fight, and it was an interesting experience. It was just taught me, I just got to jump into this thing and just see what happens. And I wound up, we trained 3 times a day. I wound up fighting 5 times in 6 months, actually. So, let's see, that's my second fight. Not much better. I remember everyone was walking around the next day, and everyone was looking at me funny. And I was a little proud of that, though. It was like I really felt like a fighter then. And yeah, this is my first pro fight, and it was streamed online. I had a bunch of people back home watching, and my old work, my old colleagues were watching. And it was really exciting when I won that one. And afterwards, I got my win here with the lovely ladies. They got the door. And so one of the big, I was really in this highlights something. I was really in a totally different situation. I didn't speak Spanish. I had studied a little bit in high school, and I had to just really immerse myself. I think there's a lot of people I've met have done semesters abroad. I live in Spain now. There's a lot of people, but I was really every day speaking nothing but Spanish. There was days when I didn't speak any English down there, and I had to really learn fast. And it was really nerve-wracking as I was in locked in this cage, as you can see, the cage here with my coach, who's off screen here, but he didn't speak a word of English. So imagine you're in between rounds, sitting down on the stool, sweaty, you guys screaming in your ear in a different language. It was quite an experience. And yeah, that's my cauliflower ear. The wrestlers, you can see that. I had got banged up after my first fight. Had to draw some blood out of my ear. Really nasty. It was just a shock my leg. So yeah, I fought 5 times down there, and I got hurt. I cut my finger bad, not even MMA related, and it was it got all swollen. And I went to all these doctors, and that's what you get living in Peru. I went to 5 different doctors down there, and no one could fix it. And I became very, very anxious, and I became really, this is it, my career is over, this is what I came down here to do. And I started taking sleeping pills and abusing them a little bit, and I was abusing these anxiety pills that they sell at the counter down there. And it was a really hard time for me, and I met a girl, a British girl down there, and I decided that I was going to move out and move to England. to be with her. And I moved over there. I went over to visit for 2 weeks, and I was in love with this girl. I was madly in love with her, and it didn't work out. She broke up with me after a week. We fought the whole time. Yeah, we fought the whole time. It was a long time ago. It's water under the bridge now. But so I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was like lost. I was in Europe by myself. I decided to catch a bus to Paris, and I moved around Paris for a few days by myself. Heartbroken, probably the worst place I could have gone. I didn't know anyone there, and it was really, really dark time there. And I caught a bus down to Spain, and I traveled all around Spain, and I loved it. I said, this place is amazing. And I asked everyone I could when I was down there. I said, how do I get a job? How do I get a job here? How do I get a job here? I need to move here. I love this place. The food, the weather, everything. And on my last day there, I was in Barcelona, and my tour guide said, hey, I just heard about this program the other day that hires English teachers. You should check it out. And I applied for my hostel that night, and I spent the whole night sitting there applying. And a few months later, I heard back. I went home for the summer and came back, and I moved to Spain. And I've been in Spain for the past year. This is actually, I arrived back in the United States 3 days ago, and it was the first time I've been on U.S. soil in a year and 1 month. So I've been living there, and I teach English, and I had an amazing year. It was a really great time. I had great friends. I had great experiences. I traveled all around Europe. I spent this past summer, I had the summer free because I'm a teacher, and I traveled around Europe. I did a thing called the Camino de Santiago. I walked 500 miles across northern Spain, and I traveled around Europe. I hitchhiked around Europe. Let's see. Oh, I missed the. There we go. I hitchhiked around Europe, and that took me, I think, 10 hours to get from Denmark to Hamburg. And so yeah, it was an amazing time. In the end, it was worth it. I had a lot of troubles and a lot of really terrifying things, really harrowing experiences down there in Peru. But it was just, I never in a million years could have imagined where I would have wound up in the end. As I was saying at the beginning, even when I was sitting here, I was sure that I would be on Wall Street. When I was on Wall Street, I was sure I was going to stay there. When I was in Peru, I was sure that I wanted to be a world champion, that this was it. This was what I was going to do. And now I don't say that too much anymore. Who knows where I'll be a year from now? Who knows where I'll be next year, 5 years? I don't know. But I'm really happy with what I'm doing now. And actually, I want to talk briefly about writing the book. So I sat down and I decided that all these stories, that I had lived so many interesting things that I had to put them down in a book. And I'd written a blog, but I had not really had a formal training in writing or anything like that. And it was something I had to learn totally new. I read all these books about writing, and I sat down and I wrote every day for a year, and it took me a whole year to do it and edit it and everything like that. And it was really exciting. I was really excited to take these things out of me that I had, these really painful, happy, adventurous, everything experiences, put them down into a book, and I feel like I just carved a piece of flesh out of myself. And it was really, really exciting, and I'm very happy with the way everything turned out, and the reception was very good from a lot of people. So yeah, that's my story. Should we open up to Q&A?
Sure. I got a question for you. So I read the book, and you guys ought to read the book. It's pretty good. It's pretty exciting. There's one story in the book, though, that you really don't give us enough about. And that's when the guy took your wallet, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
He devotes like 2 lines to this, and there's got to be a great story. So tell us the story.
Yeah. This was actually when I was about 3 weeks. I had been in Spain, and I was out one night with some friends, and we were looking for a place to get kebabs. I was with 2 girls, and they were really craving some kebabs, and we couldn't find any place that was open at that hour. It was a little late, and so we were asking around. Every place was closed, and I found a guy that's like, oh yeah, I'll take you over. Let me show you. And so we're kind of walking together, and he's like, oh, you look like a judo guy. I think he said. He just guessed. And I was like, no, I'm a wrestler actually. He said, I did some judo, and he kind of comes over and like judo, and I was like, you just took my wallet. No, I didn't. Yeah, you just took my wallet, man. And he slowly starts backing away, and I see it in his hands, and he starts to run, and I went and punched him in the face. And the wallet fell to the ground, and I picked it up and chased him down the street. So yeah, and actually, that was that story. Another time I was in Berlin over Christmas last year, and I was walking down the street, and there was a bunch of people came up to me with like a little thing to sign, and like a clipboard and everything. And they're like, I was like, I know that it's a scam there, so I kind of like stay away. There was a girl right in front of me with a big backpack on, a little girl, and they go up to her to sign it, and I see the girl starts signing the petition or whatever it is, and I see one of them reach into her handbag, like elbow deep in there, and I ran over and like pulled it out. I was like, no, stay away. So lesson if you're in Europe, be careful about the pickpockets.
When you were going through this difficult time in your life, did you at any point in time decide that maybe you would want to go back to Wall Street and give that a shot again, or were you just completely done with that?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, it was always something that everyone else would remind me of, so it was always there in the back of my mind. I think that I could have done it too for a while. The big thing was when I was stuck in Europe, before I had been accepted to the job to teach in Spain. It was something I was thinking, maybe I could go back. I always have that in the back burner. And it was nice to have that freedom, that I know that if it comes down to it, I could go back to a career like that. At this point though, I don't think that I think it would be very hard for me. I think, I was back in New York City this past weekend, and I was like, whoa, big buildings, what is this place? I've been abroad for 2 years now, and I think even like just coming back for this few days, it's been a bit of reverse culture shock. It's interesting. I've met people from all over the world. I've traveled, and I think the pace of life is very different in these different countries, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's always something there, and it's always something I've been passionate about, as I talked about. I really do, like, when I don't get the opportunity to talk about it with many people, to talk about finance or talk shop, kind of. And so when I do meet someone from, say it's traveling, a Wall Street guy, my eyes kind of light up a little bit. I'm like, let me talk about bonds and where the market's at. I'm kind of a nerd, I guess.
Do you keep believing that what you're doing is right? Have you think about that? The things you're doing might end up bad? Like, have you thought yourself during the adventures?
Bad in what way?
Like, for example, the cage fighting. Have you think that maybe you're going to get hurt seriously, or for the adventures maybe you're getting like some trouble?
Yeah, so I mean, there's danger to it, but I think that's kind of what like adventures are. Like if you're just going to do something without really taking a risk, without putting yourself in an uncomfortable position where you could potentially lose, I'm not sure if that's an adventure. I mean, I think that for all the bad things that did happen to me, I think those are the things that I draw meaning from today, and the lessons from. I think that as you're going through hard things, I was injured. I had my heart broken. I suffered from addiction, and I think that I look back on those things, and those are the things that have fortified me today and made me made me a better person. I think that adventure is dealing with and confronting those obstacles in your way. And so yeah, I mean, I try now to, when something bad happens, I try, it's very difficult, but I try to say like, okay, this is good, this is how I learn, this is how I overcome things, and yeah, and try to do that.
Thank you.
Would you suggest for like anyone else to make such a drastic change in their lifestyle, as like you did? Like, would you recommend or not recommend it, but like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's everyone's their own thing. You know, I think a lot of people think that I'm like anti-Wall Street now or this or that, and like, you know, against this career path that I took, and I that's totally opposite. You know, if that's what you want to do, then do that. I guess it's, don't be afraid to follow something like a new choice or a new change, to move cities even, to move towns. You know, I think a lot of people get stuck in a comfort zone, and you know, let's use the city example. You know, you're living in New York City and you get a job offer in a different city, but you don't want to make that change. Like, I think that you know, you have to test your comfort zone, and you know, to the ability that you can. No, I don't think everyone should quit and go cage fight in Peru. But yeah, I think you should always and you should always question the path you're on. Maybe, you know, you don't want to make any changes, and that's fine. But you should at least question it. At least be open to new opportunities and new challenges.
What's it like to actually lose an MMA fight?
To actually what?
To lose an MMA fight. So you're in a cage, you know you're not going to dominate the guy. But you know you're going to be in some significant pain, and you're in Peru, so the rules in the U.S. are...
Yeah, well, even if you win, you would be in significant pain too a lot of times. I actually was undefeated, so I'm trouble answering the question. But I can talk about, like, in practice and sparring, it's an interesting thing. And it's actually the reason why I don't continue to fight now. People always ask me, why don't you continue to fight? It's like, because to fight in MMA is different from other sports. You need 3 months of training twice a day, like a full-time job. You can't just kind of commit to it. Like you could, if I went to play soccer right now, I might lose 100 to nothing, right? But losing in an MMA fight is dangerous. It could cause there's brain damage, there's you know, blood and broken bones and everything like that. And it's a terrifying thing to, I guess I'll talk about how terrified I was to fight. Even, you know, every fight I was so, going into it, it felt like I was going to die or something. I was really nerve-wracking the whole time. And I would get all these doubts in my head because I would kind of play through the montage in my mind of what you're saying, losing a fight. You can have a guy on top of you just pounding, dropping elbows on your face. And, you know, that's a scary thought. So, you know, I've just, in practice, I've gotten beaten up, and in those pictures, you can see that I suffered a little bit of damage, but I was lucky. I think I came out after 5 fights without ever getting a total whooping, so I was lucky.
You said that you were self-taught as a writer. Did you work with an editor? How did you sell the idea of your life story is so unique that the publishing house would accept it and work with you when there's so many people that want to be published?
I actually self-published it, but I did work with an editor. I hired a professional editor to do it. But I didn't even go that way. I was living in Spain at the time, and to me, and I put like so much. I put a year of work into this book, and I slaved away at it. It was so important to me that I didn't even really look that route. I just was kind of exhausted, and I said, I just want to get this thing out there. And that's a big thing too. I think that's like something that I'm proud of. Like, you know, no matter what, I knew that this was going to get out there. I was going to get this done, no matter what. Like, and I think that a lot of times, you know, there's a lot of things stopping me, like say leaving my job. There were like a million reasons why I should have done that, or there were all these, you know, impediments in my way. Like my parents were not happy, all these other things. But like, I decided I wanted to do something, and I knew that no matter what, I was going to get it done. And so, yeah, that was what about actually publishing a book was something I was sure I was going to do no matter what.
So when you were at Blair, who were your role models or your mentors? And now at this point in your life, who plays that role for you too?
I mean, Dr. Miller was a really big, really important part in my development here. I remember, I took his economics class, but he was, apart from that, outside of the classroom, we were always debating. I think we were talking about this at dinner, actually. One of the things that I loved about Blair was that I came from public school, and at Blair, I thought that there was such a better relationship with the teachers. Like, I was able to, whether it was Quentin Clark or Dr. Miller or Mr. Beck, anyone, and Clavel and Buxton, I thought everyone was so much more accessible, and I was really, I really had a, I grew a lot while I was here, having different relationships with these teachers and being able to talk about things with anyone. And yeah, I had an amazing time here. I really grew a lot as a student here. Now it's interesting because I've been all over the world and I've kind of been to all these different places, so it changes a lot. It's my friends. This year I had an amazing circle of friends this year in Madrid, and I'm actually, I didn't mention this, but I'm moving to the Canary Islands this coming year, and I'll have to make a whole new set of friends. And it's hard. I live in a different time zone, 6 hours ahead, and we're calling back to the United States. But I mean, throughout all of it, throughout all the change and everything like that, my parents have been super supportive of me, and always there when I need them. And so I've leaned on them a lot over the years, and as well as my friends.
I'm curious how you were received in, let's say, Peru and the cultural differences, and how you were, let's say, viewed as a person from the United States, as a fighter. How were you billed? What was the audience reaction? That sort of thing. And then if you want to talk about the other cultural differences and experiences that you had in the other places that you visited, that would be very enlightening.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a really interesting dynamic down there because it's a very poor country. It was very, like I said, how it affected me. It was very humbling to see these people. Like, I traveled around Peru. Actually, I have this slide here. I traveled around Peru a little bit. That was sandboarding. That's monkey meat I saw in the jungle. It's disgusting. I didn't eat it, no. So I traveled around Peru, and the people in the gym had never been outside Lima before. And so a lot of my friends that are like big travelers now will ask me, oh, where else did you go in South America? And I said, I didn't go anywhere else. I lived there a year. I didn't travel outside Peru. And it's because of the fact that I lived in the gym with all these people that I saw 3 times a day. And when I did travel a little bit within Peru, they would say things like, oh man, it's nice that you have that luxury. I've never left Lima before. So it was really interesting being down there, and I'd never been around that before. And down there, they love Americans and American culture and everything like that. And so there's actually a lot of racism down there against the native people of Incan descent, and so it's a really interesting, it's a really sad dynamic. Being white, being a gringo down there, people are like, oh wow, be my friend, girls look at you, you're more attractive, all this stuff, and they talk about it all the time, and it's a really unfortunate thing down there. But yeah, I think the fact that I left the United States behind to come join their culture and to be part of their culture and to take it in, and I was living with them and eating their food and everything like that, I think that they were very very appreciative. They were saying, look at all the things he left behind. He wants to be here with us in this gym. And they build it like that a lot of times. It was like, American wrestler, Wall Street guy down here, gave it all to come down here and fight with us. Look at this, look how great our organization is. It gave a certain cachet, I think, me and there was one other American fighting down there, and it made them more. It was more international. Look at us. Look at what we have here. So yeah, that was interesting. In Spain, it's been a little bit more. The expat community. I've been hanging out more with the expat community and not as immersed as I was in Peru, and I missed that aspect for sure. I missed that being part of the family.
Piggybacking on that, Rollie, being outside of America with non-American friends, has that changed your perception of us and our role in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been interesting having met these people from around the world and hearing these other opinions. When I lived in New York City, I love New York. I never wanted to leave New York. I said, this is the greatest city in the world. This is the only city in the world. This is it, as New Yorkers tend to say. And I just couldn't conceive of anywhere else. And so since I've been abroad, I've met all these interesting, different people. And yeah, I mean, I've heard various viewpoints. I think we were talking about this a little earlier about how, when I'm traveling, everyone's like, how many guns do you have? None. And so you hear these different things and these different ways of living. You kind of start to realize that, just because something's different doesn't mean it's better or worse. There are many different ways that people live, that people make a living, that people eat, that people greet each other, all these things. And I think at first, I was a little bit like, I'm American, and this is greatest country in the world. No, it's a joke. But and I was a little close-minded. I think it's opened up that there are just all these different cultures doing things differently, and I think that's why travel is really important to meet these people that have these vastly different viewpoints, and it challenges your own. Sometimes you have to say, is this better or worse? I don't know. It's just different.
Did you find that, excuse me if I could just ask this other question, did you find that the rest of the people in other countries knew a lot more about your country than you did?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And if they got different news, different kind of reporting?
Yeah, so I think American culture has really, it's everywhere. Any club you go to in the world, you're going to hear American, you're going to hear Justin Bieber or whatever. Actually, he's Canadian, but what was I saying? Yeah, so everyone definitely is following the election right now. Everyone is asking, I would just travel all over Europe this summer, and I'd say I'm from America. It's what is with that Donald Trump? And it was really interesting. And even, even my ex-girlfriend was British, and a lot of times she would say all these things about American actors, and she would mention a British TV show, and this is my own ignorance, or I've never heard of that. There was a point of contention between us a little bit at times. So I've definitely found that I think a lot of Americans, because it's such a big country and we're isolated, and we have enough of our own news, we don't really get a lot of the other news. And another interesting thing was when I was in Peru, a lot of the news that's really big to us is they don't care about. I remember when there was some strife in the Middle East or whatever, I was trying to talk to some of my friends down there, and they're like, what country is that? It's doesn't matter to us. And so it's different, and that's the news sources and everything like that.
Were there things you discovered about Peruvian culture that you were like, wow, that's really cool, America could learn from that, or
yeah. No, everything. It's a beautiful country with great food and really humble people. That's the thing. I've mentioned a few times that it's a poor country, but the people there are the shirt off their back anytime. Let me invite you in and make you dinner, and they're scraping by to support themselves. And there's really a sense of community down there, and it's really Yeah, it's really humbling. I think that if you have a little money down there, you kind of take care of your friends and like, well, I mean, oh my God, there's the janitor of our gym had this really serious throat problem. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was like almost life-threatening, and he didn't have health insurance because almost none of my friends down there had health insurance, and the public health is really tough down there. And so he had to go around hat in hand. I think I gave him $100 or whatever. It was like, and he was able to raise like $1,000 from people that don't have very much. And so it was really, really inspirational and really heartwarming to see that these people might not have very much, but they're very generous with it. And so I mean, lessons like that.
Going along with that question, even though you left Peru and you're about to leave Spain, are there any customs that you take with you as you travel?
Yeah, absolutely. Siestas. Well, actually, so to clarify, I'm not leaving Spain because Canary Islands is a part of Spain. It's owned by Spain. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the lessons that I learned from each individual person and friend are something that I always take with me. Like, I think that I miss Peru so much. Actually, I keep talking about going back, and I just met my friend, Peruvian friend in New York last weekend, actually. But yeah, I mean, I think that the little things I learned in each one of these places, and you have to like really immerse yourself and see these things to learn something. I think that there's a difference between, like, say, real travel and sightseeing. Like, if you go to a country and snap a picture of the Eiffel Tower or the pyramids or whatever it is, and then you go back to your hotel and you go home, you're missing those lessons. And so yeah, I mean, I think I've learned a ton from all these people. I'll give you a good example. So in Peru, there was like the MMA culture that I was part of down there. There was like these guys were tough. There was no excuses. No injuries would ever keep you out. And so my coach was this guy. He had fought like 50 professional fights. He used to fight bare knuckle. His face is all like mangled, his ears and everything like that. And there's just no excuses ever kept this guy out of a fight. And so when he would say, "You're fighting tonight," which he did twice to me, I would be like, "I don't want to," and he'd be like, "Why?" "I just don't. You're gonna go out there and fight." And so that kind of like no excuses mentality, I think, is something that is like very Peruvian and really stuck with me.
I was wondering, since I know it's in like a lot of movies, but did your fellow MMA fighters, how many of them wanted to fight and how many of them were fighting because they needed the money?
I don't think any of them were fighting because they needed the money, because there's not much money in it. It's like not something that the ratio of like payout to pain and suffering are very low or high, whatever it is. There's like, you really have to love it to do it, because to suffer through all the training, to go out there and put yourself in a cage, was a terrifying thing. Like I said, I loved it, but I also hated it. It was kind of like, it was terrifying, but I loved it, and I really wanted to do it and prove to myself. And like my friend Claudio down there, he just actually, he wanted a big fight, but he's like from the age of 12, he was like, "I'm gonna be an MMA fighter. This is it. It's my dream." And one of my other friends, Enrique, he last season he won. There's a reality show that the UFC puts out called The Ultimate Fighter, and they do a Latin American version too. And he won it. And he got a big UFC contract, and he had never been outside. He was one of those guys that had never been outside Lima. And he was in Florida. He was in Canada. He was in California. They're flying around to do this stuff. So that was it was a success story. And it was his dream since he was younger, and it's really it's really inspirational to hear that stuff.
Okay, if you'd like, one more.
Yeah. Sorry, I got here late. I'm not sure if you addressed this, but did you study Spanish at Blair, and if so, how useful was it for you heading out to the adventure?
No, I didn't study at Blair. Before I came to Blair, at my old school, I studied 3 years of it. But I was 26 when I left for Peru, so I've forgotten most of it. And I had to really learn it from almost from scratch again. And now, after 2 years, I speak like, I don't know, fluent pretty well. Like I can speak with anyone. And actually, this other thing, like I've become really interested in languages now. It's a new thing that, I studied Portuguese this year, and I speak Portuguese okay at this point, and I'm going to probably pick up another language next year. It's like, it was never my thing before, but I'm become passionate about that now, so.
If you'd like to, go ahead, read it.
I know that in some areas, MMA fighting has a bad rep as being heavily staged. What was your experience with that?
MMA is like rarely staged. In the old days, in like Japan, they used to stage some fights. It's not like pro wrestling. It's really hard to stage. I mean, I'm sure there are some fights that have been fixed or whatever. That's what you're saying? You're saying that they're like choreographed or whatever? Yeah, I've never in my experience have I seen that. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that was happening. I'm very sure that was not happening down in Peru. It might happen in some other arenas at higher levels where there's like maybe betting involved or something, there's corruption. I'm not quite sure. I can't really speak to it. I just don't know, to be honest.
Okay. Come on down to talk to him if you'd like to continue the conversation. Thanks for coming, and let's give him a warm